Still here in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia has agreed to let flights between Israel and the United Arab Emirates fly through the kingdom's airspace, despite the fact that the kingdom does not officially recognize Israel. The Saudi state media and the Israeli Prime Minister making the announcement on Wednesday. Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan Al Saud saying the decision doesn't change its position on the Palestinian issue. Benjamin Netanyahu welcoming the move, calling it the fruits of a real peace. Our diplomatic correspondent Eli Hachenberg has more.
A gateway to the Gulf. Israel's recent normalization bid with the UAE is already creating a ripple effect. The Saudi Arabian government announced Wednesday that it will regularly allow flights to the United Arab Emirates to pass through its airspace, including Israel. The announcement comes following an official request from the UAE government and diplomatic efforts by senior advisor to United States President Jared Kushner.
This will make flights cheaper. This will shorten the time. It will develop tremendous tourism. This will open up the East. When you fly to Thailand and anywhere in Asia, it will shave hours and prices. A huge message to you, the citizens of Israel. These are the fruits of true peace.
The dramatic announcement comes only a day after a first-ever direct Israeli flight arrived home from Abu Dhabi as part of a first official visit of an American and Israeli delegations to the Emirates. The American delegation continued its tour of the Gulf, with Kushner meeting both Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and Bahrain's King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa. This, among others, is part of Washington's efforts to advance more normalization agreements between Israel and other regional powers. Bahrain was tipped as the next country to formalize ties with Israel, but it is politically dependent on Saudi Arabia, which only recently went on record saying it will not normalize relations with Israel until it agrees on the establishment of an independent Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. But the intensive efforts from the White House might bring the next breakthrough sooner than it seems.
Now, for more on this story, we welcome Rabbi Marc Schneier, the Special Advisor to the King of Bahrain and President of the Foundation for Ethnic Understanding, and he joins us from New York. Rabbi, thank you so much for your time on this day. So much has been made. We heard there Benjamin Netanyahu speaking about Saudi Arabia allowing Israel to fly directly over it despite the history that exists. Talk to us about how you see this in terms of your response. Is this a potential sign for normalization with Saudi Arabia, or is that kind of jumping the gun? Is it too soon to say?
It's a historic announcement. It's the beginning of the warming of relations between Saudi Arabia and Israel. At the same time, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and its leaders have made it very, very clear of their steadfast commitment to the Palestinian people. They want to see the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians resolved minimally. They would like to see discussions, negotiations taking place. So we can choose to listen to what we want to listen to in terms of the announcement. At the same time, we should also pay attention to not only what Saudi Arabia is saying, but 5 other Gulf states are saying. UAE broke ranks, even though they are trying to spin or couch this normalization of ties as having rescued the 2-state solution for the Palestinian people. So we can say 1 down and 5 to go, but the other 5 have made very, very clear that there must be some movement on the Israeli-Palestinian front.
And to that exact point, Rabbi, when you mentioned there are 5 other states to be considered as contenders, so to speak, the fact that the UAE has normalized ties with Jerusalem, how has that changed the perceptions within the Arab world? Given the way you work with Gulf states and their ruling families, how has the perception changed following this landmark accord?
Well, the mistake many people make is they view the Gulf states, the GCC, as being monolithic. It's anything but. Each country has its own challenges, particularly when it comes to establishing relations with Israel and Saudi Arabia. It's more of a generational conflict. Bahrain, I don't believe Bahrain would ever want to be out ahead of the Saudis. The Qataris, they beat to their own drum. It's the only Gulf state in the last 7 years that has been working publicly with the state of Israel in terms of bringing humanitarian aid to Gaza, not only with the blessing of the Israelis, but at the request of the Israelis. Then you have Oman. They have a new leader. They have a new sultan. Time will tell if he has that same commitment that his predecessor had. Then you have Kuwait, which hasn't even come out of the starting gate. So let's not view the other five as being a monolithic block in the Gulf. Each one has its own challenges that are playing a role. And then, but one thing that they all are going through in common is that there's a certain reluctance right now because of the presidential election here in the United States. Who will be the next president of the United States of America? And I think that for many Gulf leaders that have spoken with me, there is a wait and see attitude as to who will be the leader of America moving forward.
And certainly the whole region will be watching to see that outcome and obviously see the impact across the Middle East. Thank you so much for your insight, Rabbi Marc Schneier, Special Advisor to the King of Bahrain and President of the Foundation for Ethnic Understanding, live from New York. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.